Hey, I'm Dave Pryor. I'm here with Reese Schmit, and we're going to talk all about Agile 2024. This is part of a series of pre-interviews that we're doing to get people excited about it, hopefully get you to come and check out all the awesome things that are going to happen in Grapevine from July 22nd to 26th. I have to look down at my notes to get the date right. So, Reese, thank you for taking time out of your morning for this.
You are so welcome. I'm excited to be here.
So Reese works at Rethinking Agility. She's a very experienced Agile coach and trainer, super fun to teach with. And she's part of the program team. So we're going to talk about some of the things that she's stoked about for the upcoming conference. But first, for the people that don't know what a program team is, what do you guys do?
All things program. So we are responsible with, I know. I love using the word in a definition. So basically we work with, we create some tracks. We ask for volunteers for some track chairs, and they coordinate all the sessions coming in, and we then take those sessions and turn them into a conference. Some of those sessions come in through our submission system. Some of those sessions are invited sessions. This includes keynotes and special programs. We have some fun things like Agile games coming up, and things like Agile advice, and all of those different sub-programs are all kind of part of it.
Okay. Cool. And you've been going to the conference for a while now. Yes.
I'm trying to think what my first one was. I think San Diego, but it's been a while. I'm old. My brain's getting old.
I think I'm a lot older than you. All right. So one of the things that the folks on the program team have to do is figure out how they're going to use the facility. And if you've never been to a Gaylord, they're massive. You kind of walk into the dome and you don't leave for like a whole week. And it's really spread out. So when we were doing the pre-interview, Reese was explaining how psyched you were about that. So can you talk a little bit about how this experience has been different from other conferences you've worked on in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. In other conferences I've worked in the past, the program team is solely responsible for the program.
Content.
Yeah, the content that came in and where those went was all up to kind of the advising body, whoever the kind of the bosses of the conference were. But this year was so different. We went to an on-site in December, and we walk into the Gaylord, and we walk into the conference center, and we've got printouts of the floor plan, and they turn to us and they go, "Think about how you want to use a space." And I was like, "What?" So I'm like, I'm a facilitator. I love to tell stories through space. And so I was so excited. One of the things that my very first year at the Agile conference, I mean, there were so many tracks, there were so many places to go. I had no idea how to navigate the conference. That was absolutely one of the things that I wanted to come in and help with. I wanted to make this conference something that's so easy to navigate for our brand new people and people who've been here for a while. But so when I see this space, and I realize for one of the first times in a while, we're all in the same space. And so we've got kind of everything in one big area. We've got this huge kind of open foyer area.
So it's not like where you're usually walking trying to find this room or that room or whatever hallway.
Yes. Okay. Now, there are a couple spaces that are off of the beaten path, but trust me, if you know that you want to go there, you'll find them. And you get to stay in that area too. They're not all spread around. So what we actually did, and thank goodness the rest of the program team is so patient with me, and they're like, "Look, you're nerding out on this. You run with it." I was like, "Are you sure? Like, you don't have any preferences?"
That would totally be me. I am not spatial. If they were like, figure out how you want to use the space, I'd be like, just put everything right here and figure it out.
And they were like, no, you have fun and go run with us. We have zero preferences. And I was like, okay, cool. And so we ended up, because we really balanced out the program for the kind of 4 main submitted tracks, we were able to create space. So Accelerating Products has a set of rooms where they're all going to be. So we're going to be able to say, hey, product folks or people who want to learn more about product, go over here. This is your playground. For enriching organizations, they have their own playground. Tech for All, and for energizing people and teams, they kind of have their own area. Lightning Talks will be in the same space for the whole time. The foundations, the Agile Essentials, sorry, not foundations, Agile Essentials will have the same room. So people will know if that's the
That's
place they want to
space.
go, they know where to stay. So they're not trying to race between places and go grab a snack and then go, oh my God, where am I supposed to go next? Like, if they want to stay in that energizing people and teams place to really learn more about that, they've got a space. The Tech for All folks, like, they get to stay in their kind of area. And now, of course, if people want to cross through there, great.
But it's great from a networking perspective too, because you can go hang with your tribe. I mean, we'll all be mingling together throughout the thing, but you can go find your group and be with that group and really kind of build a strong community there while you're there.
Absolutely. I didn't even think about that. What a great benefit. Thank you. I'm going to push that.
I'm happy to help. Yes. So I know you're doing, go ahead.
Oh, the other thing that we did is when we laid out the program, we actually took a concerted effort to look at what types of sessions were going through there. And so we didn't have like all of the ones that were like for, say, team health or something like that. That's a generalized thing, but we didn't have all the team health ones clumped together. We didn't have all the like product vision ones clumped together. We made sure that we spread those out so that if you were really focused, you came to this conference going, I really need a deep dive in product vision things. You could flow through the whole conference and follow that track through there. And so we're going to try to put some of those kind of fingers crossed. I'm hoping that I can get this together, kind of like a concierge almost pathway through some of the sessions. So like, if you're here for these particular themes, here's the way to navigate the conference. And so I'm gonna be working on some posts about that in the upcoming months.
That's really, I want to just mention this for the folks that have never been before. It's a really overwhelming week. It's going to take you a long time to recover from. But with what Reese just described, you can build sort of like a journey map for yourself of what you want to follow throughout, when you want to go down different paths here and there. And that's unique because I can't tell you how many conferences I've been to where like there's 4 talks I want to go to and they're all at the same time and I can only pick one.
Now, I'm not guaranteeing that's not going to happen because this program is stacked with amazing talks. Like, in fact, I kept going, oh, I don't want those at the same time because I want to go to that. Yeah. There's one that I like very interested in going to. And so I started going, oh, and I was like, okay, I can't be selfish and not put all any good talks against that one. But yeah, so I can't guarantee that.
You're doing a lot of experiments. You've got a very diverse group of speakers. You want to talk about that for a second so people can get kind of a taste of what they'll experience when they're there?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big themes, when we came together back in September as a program team and said, what was our vision? What do we want to bring different this year? What do we want to do? We had some pretty hard talks about what the state of our industry is right now, the state of the economy. And we wanted to create a space where we could, an intentional space, I should say, to have some of those hard conversations. And you'll see that coming up in the Audacious Salon. Now, I cannot take any credit for those conversations that they're spurring. That is all Melissa and Matt. But we're also wanting to make sure that we're bringing in those talks in the way that the themes were crafted or the tracks were crafted, that we were creating that space for what happens. Like, we're all talking about AI right now. And we wanted to make sure that we were talking about the responsibility of it and how, years ago, people were freaking out about automation. Like, I was a QA during that time. Like, it was a little bit scary, but I was like, look, I get to do the fun part. So how do we bring in AI in a responsible way? How do we show value? How do we bring, and here's the big thing, the whole team back to the table? Agile's not for just Agile coaches and Agile trainers. Agility is how we work inside of an organization. And so we are doing some really intentional things to bring the whole team back. And we want to bring everyone, and people who have left the conversation, we want to bring back. People who have not been to the conference in a while, people who've never been part of the conversation, bring them in. So we're doing these things. I'm sure Dana talked to you about the executive forum. We're wanting to make sure that we're bringing the leaders to the table. So we're not being the messengers. We want to make sure that we're bringing our engineers back to the conference, to bring from their side. So it's not just us bringing things like, let's
just
try mob programming.
Coaches, a week of
Right.
coaches talking to each other.
Exactly. And so we really believe in looking at the people who are coming to speak. We've brought some folks who haven't been to the conference in so long, people who have never been to the conference. We've got a multi-platinum artist, like, he's an engineer at Everly Health, and he's coming in and doing a talk. Like,
wow.
He's never been to our conference. We've got somebody who's generally runs in the Black Hat org. Like, he's a cybersecurity guy. He's coming to speak at our conference. Like, we're bringing in a ton of really cool folks that have never been part of our conference before, and folks who've left because they weren't finding the value. So we're trying to bring back that value. And I'm not saying in years past, like, we haven't, like, I've gotten a ton out of this. There's
always really good stuff, but
we're just trying to diversify that value, because we don't want to just be the messengers of all the cool stuff that we learned at the conference. We want to bring the people who we want to take that information to. Like, you guys come and you teach us too, because we don't want to tell you how to develop. We don't want to tell you how to build product. We don't want to tell you how to run your organization. We want you to come learn the things from your peers, and we work at this together when we go back from this conference.
So that's a really interesting idea. I had never thought of it that way before. I've always felt like these conferences tend to be coaches and thought leaders coming in preaching to the masses, but you're designing it intentionally so that those people, the coaches and trainers, they're learning from people from the outside, kind of adding new stuff into the mix to make it a different conversation.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask about themes. So I always feel like Agile goes through these trends. And before the pandemic, everything for a while seemed like it was all focused on safety and inclusion. And I'm assuming this summer it's going to be very heavily on the AI side. Are there any other themes that are like a big deal that you kind of see running throughout the conference?
Bringing more value to the organization, making sure that we are supporting organizations in the way they need to right now. So recognizing that I've seen a couple of talks, and I'm hoping they end up there from their from their descriptions. It really brings us. So I'm excited to see what comes. Focusing on, like, Agile's not the goal. Like, the goal is an amazing product. It's an amazing, healthy organization. We believe Agile's the way to get there. And I truly believe, and I've said this to somebody who was taking on a CEO role once upon a time at a company, at an Agile company. And she's like, what am I doing? And I was like, we're never going to not think, getting closer to the customer, treating humans like humans, breaking down work into valuable chunks, not creating waste. We're never going to find something better than that. Like, we're going to maybe call it something different. But that the core of agility will live. That is like that.
It's the method.
That's the way we get there. Right. And so kind of breaking it down into kind of that of like, how do we support these organizations, especially now where they're trying to run really lean. And how do we bring our lean brains to the table? How do we talk about flow? Like, Colleen Johnson is doing a flow metrics talk that is, I think it's going to be amazing. Yeah.
I would love. So if you're not familiar with flow metrics, you need to go to this talk. And I'm assuming this is going to be part of the thing where Colleen teaches people how to create them by hand, or that's going to be part of her thing.
I think so. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I just want to hit on two other points. So just for the folks that are not familiar with the conference, you mentioned that it's about bringing value back to the organization. And that's also a thing, because I feel like a lot of times at the conference, it's like, we'll meet you where you are and then tell you you're doing everything wrong and you have to completely change. But what's happened is there's been this shift where the companies are now like, yeah, you know what? Not so much. So we have to adjust to them and realize that we need to meet them where they are and work with them and not kind of against them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they got here, they got to where they are because they've been doing something right. Like, we can't they're not idiots. And so often we come in and we kind of allude to that they're doing everything wrong. They're clearly not doing everything wrong. Could they be doing some things better? Absolutely.
Well, we all
and
could.
So hopefully, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not perfect. Ask my husband. And my daughter. But we want to make sure those conversations are there of like, how do we support organizations? How do we support people? How do we support product folks and tech folks and neurodiverse folks? Like, how do we tap in? I love in the Tech for All sector right now. Yes. Oh my gosh. You're going to hear more from Samir on this and Poker about it because like this has been her baby. But I definitely, as a person with ADHD who knows that I have for years not recognized that some of my bad habits have bad. I put bad in quotes because they're the negative talk you hear. That some of those things can be harnessed as superpowers. And so for the Tech for All umbrella is not only just technology. Yes, there is some really amazing technology talks. There's also the for all part. So not only is that, how do we help the rest of the organization? A lot of that's in enriching orgs, but there's like, not the rest of the organization. Let me strike that and say, outside of kind of tech organizations, how do we use tech for those industries or those areas to help support, say, community leaders and things like that? But also there is a thread around neurodiversity in the Tech for All track around how do we support our folks who, how do we harness the superpowers of ADHD? I'm pretty sure there's one that's alluding to that. If not, come see me in the lightning talks. I will. We'll talk about it, or on Open Space Day or something.
In case you can't tell, Reese kind of has a lot of energy, and one of the things, since you're like the space lady, that I want to ask about. So people like me, when I go to this conference, I mean, there have been times when I've literally come down from my hotel room, walked in and saw all those people and just went back to my hotel room because I'm like, it's just too much. I can't deal. It is a very, it's an awesome week, but if you are somebody who needs that recharge time, it can be very overwhelming if you're kind of introverted. So are there things in the space to help those folks out? Like if I hang out with Chris Lee for like 2 hours and I'm like, dude, I got to go find a quiet corner right now. Am I going to be able to find one?
Yeah, you should be able to find some quiet spaces. So the first part that we've talked about is like you talked about the Gaylord. You're in this space, and so that can feel, and you're in this space for the whole week. There's restaurants, there's a river running through the place. Like it's basically like the biodome for hotels. And so there are going to be lots of things going on. There's lots of conversations. There are lots of places to sit and have conversations. But there are always going to be some quiet spaces. And so one of the things that we should probably look into, because you're right, I don't know if we have an intentionally quiet space right
like
now.
A Zen
we have
room or something like that,
like a Zen room or anything like that. I do know the conference itself, the conference center, the Gaylord itself does have yoga every morning. And I think Dana and I have been talking about tapping into that. They have yoga poolside every morning.
On the interview. Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I'm totally doing that. So y'all won't see me at the conference until after yoga's done. But I think that's a great idea. We do have, and maybe I can tap into one of our speakers is talking about specifically creating space for introverts inside of your teams and your organizations. So I wonder if I could tap into her knowledge and say, like, what could we do inside of this space? We do have some space that I think that's off the beaten path that we could potentially use. That could be a quiet space. And so, sorry, you got me thinking. This is my, like, I'm thinking good. Down and going.
And
like,
whoever that person doing the introvert talk, I would love after we finish the interview, tell me who that is, because I definitely want to interview them.
All right, I'll write it down.
So another thing that can happen at the conference, it happened to me at one of them. I was like really overwhelmed at an evening event, and I saw Boss Voda, and he was like, why don't you hang out with us? I'm like, dude, I can't. I'm totally overloaded. And he's like, so are all of us. We're all sitting here not talking to each other. And it was like, 10 introverts sitting in a circle, not communicating. It was so great. I was like, oh, this is my people. Yeah, it was really cool.
I mean, I'm an extrovert. I get energy.
In case they couldn't tell.
Yeah. In case you couldn't tell, like I get my energy from other people. My husband calls me a succubus.
That's great because Chris is the energy vampire and you're the succubus. It works.
He's like, yeah, you suck it out. But recognizing even I get to that place. I was at a friend's house the other night and we literally were just sitting in her living room, both on our phones, just listening to a little bit of music and not talking. And she was like, I'm sorry that I'm like the worst company right now. I was like, girl, no, I am so burnt out right now. Like, let's just sit and be with each other in our glasses of wine. It's okay. Yeah, we don't have to talk. So we should, cool. Yes, creating that intentional space is, awesome. I wrote it down. Let's see what we can do.
All right. I got one more thing I want to ask you about.
Okay.
So, and I'm going to ask everybody I interview about this because I know there's going to be a lot of newcomers at this. There were a lot of newcomers last year. And when you are a newcomer to this event, I mean, it's overwhelming. What is some advice that you can offer the new people coming to this, or maybe people that have been a couple times that haven't quite gotten the hang of this yet, to survive the week intact?
I love that question. I'm trying to think of what I do. Bring a reusable water bottle that clips to your backpack.
Okay.
Drink water. Like seriously, drink water. Have snacks in your bag because the snacks will come out and you will inevitably be in a conversation and they won't be there. So make sure you have.
Or like me, you'll be allergic to all the snacks and you won't be able to eat any of them.
There's that too. I do actually, just heads up, I do keep some gluten-free snacks in my bag specifically for Dave.
Which I have been grateful for on a number of occasions. Yes.
I totally brought them last year on purpose. And then do not get married to the session that you wanted to go to, because it is inevitably speak words, gonna be full. There will be a way inside the app this year to save your preferences, so you can look at what you want to do, and so you could save a couple so you know what your backup is, but also be okay and actually give yourself a little intentional space for the hallway conversations. Those conversations are I've learned some of the most interesting things at Agile conferences or conferences at all, not just Agile ones, in the hallways. In those hallway ad hoc conversations, you hear somebody, just something sparks your attention. You're walking by, you hear something, you're like, did you just say blah, 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 you know? We're going to have a couple of spaces that are going to be kind of open the whole time. So we'll have a lean coffee. We'll have certain times of the day that it's got a facilitator there. So they're basically
hold on a second. You're going to do lean coffees and it's not just going to be at 7:00 in the morning?
Correct.
Thank God. I always want to go, but I'm like, I can't do people at 7:00 in the morning.
I know. I can't. I'm in the gym at 7:00 in the morning. I don't do people at 7:00 in the morning. So, yes. So we'll have different times during the day when there'll be a facilitator, but the lean coffee space will always be in existence.
Open. Wow.
And so if at any time somebody's having a conversation, they're like, I need a whiteboard, jump over there.
That's
the other thing that is going to be on at all times, and this will be fun, is in the Audacious Salon, there's 4 rooms. Okay. One of the rooms will be always dedicated to Open Jam. So there will always be another kind of space for people to have those kind of conversations that aren't programmed. Plus, clearly, I mean, we're having an entire day of open space, which is going to be like so cool. Ooh, and we're doing fun things with open space, but we'll let that come later.
All right. Well, this is great. This is really exciting. So if you're interested in attending, it's going to be July 22nd to 26th. You can go to agile.org to find all the information about it. And when you're there and you see people, show them your sweatshirt, show them the little logo. You see people in these red sweatshirts, they're the people that make the thing happen. So when you see them, say something nice to them. Maybe bring them a bottle of water, because there's going to be an endless number of people who are walking up giving them a hard time, and sometimes they need a hug. So in a very polite, safe way.
Yes. I like hugs. Don't worry. I'm good. And yes. Oh gosh. I know exactly what's going through your head.
So,
thank you, Trisha Broderick.
hopefully we'll see you at the conference. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person, and thank you very much for doing the interview.